talk, Mark. Hi.
All right, so let's flip pages and then let's talk about politics. Today being Tuesday, it's people and politics. And with me in studio is Honorable Godfrey Osotsi, ANC nominated member of parliament. We are still waiting for Uasin Gishu woman representative, that is Gladys Sholei. If she happens to be here, the show will still continue. If she doesn't, the show will continue as well. Mheshimiwa, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
The first question is, it's now over for BBI. And I remember the last time you were here, you said you were confident that it was going to sail through. What has happened?
Well, it is quite unfortunate that the push to have reforms in form of constitutional amendments has halted following the decision of the Court of Appeal. As you are aware that the High Court made a decision on the same matter, and the proponent of BBI proceeded to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal has made a decision. We have accepted, although we have different opinion on how the judgment should have gone. But I think that is now under the bridge. We have decided to move on as people who supported BBI. BBI was not about an individual or a group of people. It was about Kenyans. And we had quite a number of issues in BBI, which in my view were very good and very progressive proposals for Kenyans. But unfortunately, all those good proposals have died with the BBI. I know there are efforts to try and push through those amendments in Parliament through parliamentary clauses, 52 clauses. I am not sure exactly how they will achieve that, considering that amendment to the Constitution, it is a constitutional requirement that you must have at least 2/3 of members of the National Assembly and the 2/3 of the Senate. I do not think that they will be able to marshal those numbers in Parliament because I think the enthusiasm and excitement has gone down. Especially big parties in Parliament, ODM, and even the present side, and even the Tanga side, which has always opposed any amendment that comes on the floor. So I do not think that the One Kenya Alliance, whose members of Parliament have been pushing for this, I have seen Honorable Mutula Kilonzo, Honorable Sakaja, and Malala trying to push. I do not think they have the necessary numbers to ensure the success of constitutional
But do you even have time for that? Because there must be a time frame.
Now, that's another second issue. The issue of time. You know that we are 11 months to the election. We don't really have time to go through all the processes involved in the constitutional amendment. And again, the court came up with what we call the basic structure doctrine, which implied that any change of the constitution must comply to the basic structure doctrine, which means every time you want to make amendments to the constitution, you must go to court for interpretation on whether you are within the basic structure doctrine or not. So that will remain to be a major challenge to any move to amend the constitution. And I think for me, I think the court may have erred on that, because we need to rely on the provisions of the Constitution. The issue of basic structure doctrine is a new concept to our constitutionalism. And that limits, it's going to limit any push for constitutional amendment, however good it is. So that is going to be a major challenge to those who are pushing for parliamentary initiative. So it's really going to be a tall order, especially considering that Honorable Raila has said that we tried our best
and he's not going to
amend, and now it's time to move on and focus on 2022. So it's going to be very difficult to maneuver through parliamentary initiative without the direct support of Honorable Raila Odinga.
The question is, the AG, Kihara Kariuki, said that he's contemplating to go to the Supreme Court. His argument is that President, being a civil servant, also enjoys that right to initiate, a procedure or a process to amend a constitution. How sure is he that he's going to sail through?
Well, you see now there are some issues that the court came up with, which I think it is good that the Attorney General has to go to the highest court in the land for interpretation and the way forward. And the first issue is the issue raised by the court that the president can be sued. That will require the highest court in the land to interpret and make a decision. The second one was when the court said that IBC was not properly constituted. And that means all the decisions that IBC made, including by-election,
were all unconstitutional.
So that means all those leaders who were elected through by-election are in office illegally. Now, that is going to be a very costly thing, and legally it's going to create a constitutional problem. So those are some of the issues that the AG has to go to the Supreme Court to seek further clarification and interpretation by the Supreme Court. So I think the AG is quite in order to proceed to the Supreme Court. But the political class who are in support of the BBI process led by Honorable Raila Odinga, I don't think we are interested anymore in appealing to the Supreme Court because really we do not have time, and I think we need to focus on the general election, which is 11 months away.
Exactly. Mheshimiwa, BBI, as per the proponents, had some goodies, some good aspects that were in it. But then now it's water under the bridge. So does it mean that all is lost? Talk about the 35% increment to the county, to the revenue, to the county levels, and limitation and the creation of 70 more constituencies. Now that is all gone. So have we lost as a country?
I believe we have lost.
Right.
And we have lost because of political expediency. There are people who fought BBI, not because of the good things that were in BBI, but because they thought that it was Raila Odinga's initiative. So they fought it. And it is not a new thing. You remember even this constitution that we are saying it is the best, we can't amend it. There are people who fought it.
Yeah, way back in 2010.
Honorable William Ruto, who is now behaving holier than thou, led the battalion that tried to shoot down that process. But now he became the beneficiary of what he was fighting. Then we had another initiative again pursued by Honorable Raila, the Okoa Kenya initiative. Again, with the very good ideas it had, it crashed. And then now this BBI process. So there is one constant you see in Raila Odinga. He's always out to bring fundamental reforms, constitutional reforms that benefit the Kenyans. Because we cannot say that the current constitution we have is 100% perfect. We should always seek for ways of making improvements to it. Even the people who opposed the constitutional process in 2010, they said 20% of this document is wrong. But now when they are offered an opportunity to remove the 20% and correct it, they now come and oppose. So it's unfortunate that all the good things that came with BBI are gone. The issue of allocation, increase in allocation of shareable revenue from 15% to 35% is gone.
It's gone.
And that meant empowering the counties.
But is there hope now?
As I said earlier, there is another route of parliamentary initiative. But then there are roadblocks to it. You have heard the court saying basic structure doctrine
must be adhered to.
So if you don't adhere to that, again, we have court cases coming up. So we have a lot of obstacles on the way to constitutional amendments. And then again, the issue of amassing the numbers with all these challenges that we have had with BBI, and I don't think we still have any more emphasis in this process, because even Raila Odinga, who has always been the champion of constitutional reform, has said he's going to move on. And who takes over? I wish if William Ruto was serious about bottom-up approach, now this is his opportunity. Because bottom-up approach cannot work without increased money at the counties. So we want to see him taking up this initiative and saying, now I'm going to drive this. But you see now sitting in there and waiting for Raila Odinga to make a move, and then you come and criticize. I think that's not the leadership we want in this country. We have good things like youth commission. They are all gone. We have good things like 7-year tax break.
Exactly.
For the youth. It is all gone. Even the idea of boundary review, it is going to be a constitutional problem very soon. Because, you know, we have 26 constituencies that were declared protected constituencies because they did not meet the population threshold. So they said these constituencies will again be reviewed in the next boundary review. Now, the next boundary review is going to happen in 2024. That will be in the middle of the next parliamentary term, because the elections are being held in 2022. So it happening in the middle of the next parliamentary term, it means that some of the elected MPs will have to in those constituencies will have to be declared null and void. Now that's a constitutional crisis. So how BBI was seeking to heal that was it declared, it ring-fenced the 290 constituencies and then added 70 more constituencies, so that to achieve that mantra of one man, one vote, one shilling. Now all that is gone. The repercussions are still coming, and they are going to be hard. For example, Central Kenya is going to lose quite a number of constituencies. Mathioya is going, Odhaya is going, Kieni is going, Mukurueni is going.
There's so many constituencies.
Mbere, I don't know, Mbere North is going. So quite a number of constituencies. Kangema is going. Now, if you go to Coast, again a number of constituencies are going. In fact, a county like Taita Taveta is going to lose like 3 constituencies. So
it means the political leaders have a lot to lose in the whole of this process, more than even the common Mwananchi.
Yes, people are saying that Raila Odinga has lost. If you look at Nyanza, Luo Nyanza is not losing a single constituency. He's not losing a single constituency. Rift Valley is losing. Mogocho is going. Marakwet East is going. A constituency there in Pokot is going. So the repercussions of failure of BBI are going to hit harder. And very soon you will see people saying, now what happened?
But were the politicians seeing this happening?
They were not seeing this happen because it was political expediency. Remember, they scandalized BBI so much. They said BBI is a waste of public funds. Why do you bring BBI when we have corona? BBI is for the elites to create positions for themselves. That's what they said. Now, gender balance, gender parity issue.
Yes.
Remember, the Chief Justice had issued an advisory to the president to dissolve parliament.
That is former CJ Marana.
The president is still holding on to that advisory. He has not acted. And I think maybe the president had not acted because he was thinking that with BBI, it will be able to resolve this problem. Now BBI is gone. Now gender parity problem
back to square one.
Is still there.
Yeah. We
are going into an election with the same problem, which means the election of 2022 is going to be unconstitutional because we have not handled the issue of gender parity and there is an advisory from the Chief Justice. So we have a problem. So I think those who are at the forefront of opposing this BBI did not think widely and did not think wisely. They were thinking political. They were thinking about so-and-so is going to get political mileage.
Yes.
And not us. So the best thing is that we derail it. And now it has been derailed.
Yeah.
Another very serious implication is, you know, now we are in the season of coalition building. Coalition building are going to be very difficult now because BBI was to create 5 key positions. The presidency, the deputy president, prime minister and 2 deputies. Now coalitions, parties could coalesce together and somehow make it easy to build a coalition by sharing positions.
And that
but
was
now that is not possible.
That was not bringing to the next question of what are the political implications now?
Now that is one of the major political implications. Because now, for example, the coalitions which are coming up, what do they have to share? They only have the position of
a president, and a deputy president.
And deputy president.
Right.
They cannot even promise people that they will make them ministers because the ministers are going to be outside parliament. So it is going to really be a problem. And I think Ruto, who fought this BBI, he is going to be the first casualty of this. Because for him, look at his setup. Whom can he make a deputy president? Who in his camp has the profile, has the stamina, has the personality of someone who can be a deputy president? Is it Moses Kuria? Is it Rigathi? Is it Kimani Ichung'wah? Is it Ndindi Nyoro? They don't have that profile.
Perhaps they are not interested.
They are not interested. So he will have to get a deputy president, most likely from the Mount Kenya. But who is it? And if he gets a deputy president in Mount Kenya, what happens to the other bases? Like Western, Coast, Nyanza? It's a problem. Now, the same thing applies to One Kenya Alliance. The 4 individuals in One Kenya Alliance, how are they going to share?
How are they going to structure?
One person will get president, another one deputy president. What happens to the others? So it's a problem. But if you look at Raila Odinga's circle, ODM in itself is more like a coalition. So it has big wings across the country.
So
we have Oparanya, we have Ojoho, we have...
So we can simply say that BBI lose going down the drain and court saying that it's null and void was a blessing in disguise for Raila Odinga.
It is a blessing, I want to believe. It is a setback for Raila Odinga, but it's a blessing to him. Because one, let me tell you, the repercussions of not passing this bill is really going to project Raila Odinga as a visionary leader. Because when those people in those constituencies realize that they are going to lose constituencies, whom are they going to blame? They're not going to blame Raila Odinga. They're not going to blame Uhuru Kenyatta. We are going to put the blame on William Ruto and his people. When people realize that the elections of 2022 are going to be unconstitutional because of gender parity issues, whom are they going to blame? They're not going to blame Raila Odinga. they should blame
the opposers.
The opposers.
Yeah.
And the opposers, you know, it is good to oppose, but oppose and give alternatives. Give alternatives. I expected that they would oppose BBI, but tell us that since we have the numbers, we have collected the signatures, we are pushing for this process. Because at least Third Way Alliance tried to do that thing. But them, they didn't do anything. They were fighting the process from the beginning to the end. At some point, they even pretended to be part of the process. Because why was Deputy President and his team going to Bomas of Kenya to join the other Kenyans in receiving the Report 1 and the Report 2? It is because they were believed to be supporting. In fact, even in their planning, in their strategy meetings, they were strategizing based on the outcome of BBI. But during the day, they oppose. So now we are in a situation whereby the aftermath of the BBI failure is going to hit hard on the political class. And we should know where to put the blame.
So who are the biggest losers and winners in this process?
Well, for me, I think the biggest losers are Kenyans. Are Kenyans. Because, for example, Mount Kenya has been pushing for 1 man, 1 vote,
shilling,
1
vote.
shilling. Now, that is not going to work. Because BBI has gone. Kenyans have also been pushing for increased revenue allocation to the counties. You have seen the governors have started crying now. They're saying, no, something has to be done. Let's go back to parliament. But parliament, as I said earlier, is not going to work.
Actually, the council governors legal committee.
Yes, it's not going to work. So then we have gender parity. Our ladies, our women are also the losers, because BBI was giving a platform to try and resolve that problem. Now that is not possible. So we are seeing a situation where the real effects of a loss of BBI is going to come out very clearly in the coming days.
Mheshimiwa, has this exposed President Uhuru Kenyatta? Because BBI, okay, they say that the court ruled that as a president, he could not initiate a process to amend a constitution.
I completely disagree with them. There are so many things that the court said, which I do not agree. I totally don't agree with them. Because the president, yes, is the president, but he also remains to be a citizen of this country.
As an individual.
He is an individual.
Actually, that is what the AG is trying to argue, that as an individual.
He does not lose his citizenship when he becomes the president. He's still the citizen of Kenya. And for him, he does not even have dual citizenship. He has single citizenship. So how can you claim that he has no powers to initiate a process? He has powers to initiate the process. And if you look at the Constitution very clearly, it says the president shall promote national unity. And you know, BBI was as a result of the handshake. A handshake was a process to promote national unity. Now, the president acted in that capacity as the person who has the authority to unite the country, constitutional authority to unite the country. So you can't now turn around and say the president has no powers, has no right. He does not lose his rights as a citizen when he becomes the president. That again. But as I said earlier, we respect the decision of the court, but we don't necessarily agree with some of the things they said. He's lost, quote unquote, in several constituencies. The latest one being in Kiambu County. And now the BBI, which him and President and ODM leader Raila Odinga were the gentlemen in the front line. But now
it's all gone. So has this exposed him as we head towards the end of his tenure?
This is not the first time to have setback in the process of constitutional review. Remember, Kibaki also lost the battle for constitutional review in 2005 and still won the election of 2007. Honorable Raila has been consistently been pushing for reforms so that to better the lives of Kenyans. In before 2013, he was pushing for Okoa Kenya. Okoa Kenya again was scuttled by some forces. It didn't go beyond the verification, signature verification process, but it had very good ideas. In fact, some of the things that he in BBI were in Okoa Kenya bill. Then now this BBI. So in terms of being at the forefront of constitutionalism, Raila Odinga has established himself as a brand around there, that he is a leader who is always fighting for reforms. The others only come to benefit. People like William Ruto, they only come to benefit. The same way he was going to benefit from BBI, he benefited from the 2010 constitution that he opposed.
And so now what we're looking at is the positions that they were supposed to be created in the next in the next government. All of them are gone. Give me a picture of how 2022 presidential election would look like, and the coalitions are soon coming up.
If you ask me, I want everyone to go on the ballot. We are wasting each other's time. Let all these One Kenya Alliance guy go on the ballot. Let Kalonzo Musyoka go on the ballot. Let Mudavadi go on the ballot. Let Wetangula go on the ballot. Let Gideon Moi go to the ballot. Let Raila Odinga go to the ballot. Let Ruto go to the ballot. Because we are seeing a lot of blackmail. People, leaders who have no stamina. They have no networks. They have no gravitas. They are now coming and loading it over on other leaders and say, you must support me. This is my time. What have you done on your own? I especially am quite perturbed about what is happening around One Kenya Alliance. Everyone seems to be saying that Raila Odinga cannot win the election. But at the same time, they are expecting Raila Odinga to endorse them. So if they think they have the stamina, let them get to the ballot so that this thing is decided by Kenyans. If you think you have support in your area, we want to see how you demonstrate that support on the ballot.
How would it look like? Because the history of this country is that towards any general election, the last 6 months is always the determinant.
Yes. The good coalitions or true coalitions are going to come, I think, in my view, from January. It's too early. What we are seeing now is what we have always seen in the past, where people are trying to bargain harder. We saw that in ahead of 2002 election, where we had NAK.
NAK was formed.
And then now we had KANU. KANU ended up splitting. The splinter KANU formed Rainbow, and then Rainbow and NAK joined and formed NAK. So that is what we saw. We saw also the ODM Pentagon in 2007, came towards the end. And we saw NASA also came around May 2017, just 3 months to the election. So I think the true coalitions are going to come from January. Right now, we are seeing, what we are seeing is a political posturing, which this time round, it is being accompanied by political blackmail. Blackmail directed at largely Raila Odinga, that you must stop vying, you must support us, and all this. So I find that to be a bit quite interesting, and that's why, in my view, is that if the situation continues the way it's going on, let everyone go to the ballot and
fight it there
and see your weight, rather than trying to blackmail another leader that he should support you. And yet, if you look at your own strength, it is limited.
Yeah. Let's talk about the IEBC. The court ruled that that IEBC, as it was constituted, was not properly constituted to run an election. Is Chebukati and the team ready for next general election? Of course, the 4 positions have been filled, but according to the court ruling, does that nullify them as a properly constituted body to run the next general election right now?
Not really. President has submitted the names of commissioners to Parliament. And I think very soon we are going to be called to Parliament to go, and the vetting actually is starting today. And then we'll be called to Parliament to...
The vetting of the 4 commissioners?
Yes.
All right.
They will called, after that, the committee will do a report. We'll be called to go and approve them. Now, once we approve them, they are sworn in by the president, then they automatically now take over their position. So now that means the quorum issue will be resolved. But we must look at the past decisions made by IEBC.
Yes.
From when the quorum problem started, it means those decisions are now null and void.
In question, right?
And that is why the AG has to go to the Supreme Court to ask for the interpretation of that ruling and guidance by the Supreme Court. But I see a serious constitutional problem coming through, because it means all policy decision, all by-elections that have been conducted by IEBC are now null and void. Policy decision, including policy decision that involve preparedness towards 2022 election, procurement decision, decisions involving how prepared are we to the election, all that will be null and void. And I think that is going to further complicate the preparedness of IEBC for 2022 election.
All right. Let's take a break, and when we come back, let's talk about the issue of public participation, which was raised by the courts, that there was no proper public participation in the whole of this process of BBI. That is when we come back, and so much more with Honorable Godfrey Osotsi. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. And welcome back. Still here with me is Honorable Godfrey Osotsi of ANC Party. Still going on with our debate here. We are just trying to get to the details of the BBI and now what's now left for us moving forward. Now the question is, Mheshimiwa, you said BBI is now water under the bridge. So is this a precursor to 2022? What we should expect?
Now, what the decision of BBI has simply said that let's now focus on 2022. You have seen that Honorable Raila has now said he has moved on. He's now focusing on 2022. And I think that's what we need to do now. Despite the fact that BBI failure is going to come up with its own effects, political effects, we want to see everyone now focusing on 2022, planning and mobilizing people, strategizing, and also the country generally preparing for a free and fair election. We want to see the commissioners who are now going to join the commission. They need to work day and night to ensure that we have smooth and flawless election in 2022.
And now the question of we saw a situation where the court said that there was no proper public participation.
Yes.
It is something that was discussed from the word go, that proper public participation was not taken care of during the BBI process. But here, we went through the courts, through the county assemblies, went to the parliament, went to President Kenyatta. Why was the court saying that proper public participation was not taken care of?
Well, those are some of the decisions I disagree with the courts when they say there was no proper public participation. Because we saw that the BBI task force went all over the country. The first round, they went through 47 counties, and then they came up with a report. That report went through a validation process that the various publics were involved. And then we also had a session at KICC where various groups, including judiciary, presented their views and memorandums. And then after that, it went through county assemblies, it went through National Assembly, which is the only body mandated to make laws in this country. The National Assembly and the Senate. And then now it went, it was now supposed to go into referendum before we get this. So when the court says that there was no public participation, maybe they wanted the constitution as assemblies, like what happened with Bomas or Bomas of Kenya during 2010 constitutional making process. So I disagree with them when they say there was no adequate public participation.
Is there another way apart from parliamentary procedure? Probably maybe 1, 2 or 3 clauses to be amended at Parliament instead of the 52, because according to the proposals, there are 52 clauses that can go through Parliament to be amended. Issues to do with the delimitations of the boundaries, the allocation of revenue allocation, and all that. 2 or 3 that can pass through Parliament.
You see, there are two things that you need to look at when you are amending the Constitution through Parliament. One, we have provisions which require referendum. For example, if you want to amend anything to do with Bill of Rights, independence of judiciary, structure of government, things to do with the Constitutional Commission, you need to go through a referendum. But there are other things which you don't need to go through a referendum. For example, amending to increase revenue allocation from 15% to 35%, you don't need a referendum. But as I said earlier, the courts have now come up with what we call the basic structured doctrine, which basically means that every time you want to do a constitutional amendment, even through Parliament, you have to ask yourself whether you comply to basic structure doctrine. That means you have to go to court to seek the interpretation. Now, that is where the problem is. And considering that we don't have time, we have 11 months before the election. That brings a challenge. The other thing is the numbers. 236 members of Parliament, National Assembly, must support the amendment. I don't see that happening. With the current political setup of Parliament, I do not see that happening. And as I said, if Raila Odinga and President Uhuru Kenyatta are not driving the initiative, then you can consider it as dead on arrival. Because the One Kenya Alliance leaders, they don't have the political strength in Parliament to push through constitutional amendment. And there we have Tanga team of Ruto who are waiting to pounce on anything that they think they are not in control. So we are not going to see a situation where we are going to have harmony in the House to push through the constitutional amendment with the right numbers.
Can it be seen as a trap? not going to Parliament, not going to the Supreme Court, just leaving the whole process as it is? Could it be a trap? Just to wait and see what happens?
That is why I was saying those who celebrated, I think they celebrated too early. Wait until the effects of failure of BBI start hitting.
What's the political strategy in the whole of that process now?
I don't think they had any political strategy. Their only motivation was to make sure BBI fails, so that Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta are seen to have failed. That was their motivation. They didn't look at the substance of what was being proposed. And the reasoning behind it. For example, when we talk about constituencies, it's really going to be a big problem. When we talk about gender parity, it's really going to be a constitutional problem. What solution is Tanga going to give? They have no solution. I expected Honorable Sholei to be here so that I question her, because she's the legal advisor of the Deputy President. That now with this current situation, how is Deputy President, who claims to be ahead of everyone, going to help us solve the gender parity problem? How is he going to help us solve the problem, the danger we are facing on scrapping of constituencies? Now, this is a time to demonstrate leadership. And if I was Raila Odinga, I will completely stay away, watch things from far, and see how the other leaders are going to deal with this issue. Because he has dealt with the issue, and the same people who are going to be beneficiaries are the ones leading the onslaught against him. So I stay away and see how they are going to demonstrate leadership. And if they don't demonstrate leadership, then we will know that these guys are not ripe to be leaders of this country.
It has taken almost over 20 times to amend the Constitution. But anytime that we have got the Punguza Mzigo, the Okoa Kenya, and now got the BBI, and anytime they come up with these ideas, it flops. Why are Kenyans not ready to amend the Constitution 11 years later?
Kenyans are ready to amend the Constitution because surely, first of all, in 2010, we say 20% of the document is wrong. And we said we'll get an opportunity. There was a consensus between the people who supported and those who were against. The only difference was that the people who were against said, let us amend now. And the people who are supporting it said, we will amend later. Now, the people who said, let us amend it now, are now saying no amendments. The people who said, let us amend it later, have been trying to look for avenues of fixing the 20%. They tried to do it through Okoa Kenya. It didn't, of course, it was fought. You remember someone was drawing a picture of a cow as a signature. That thing was fought. It collapsed. Now, with BBI again, it has been fought. It has collapsed. But as I said earlier, I think experience is the best teacher. Let us see what is going to happen in the coming days as we digest the failure of BBI. Personally, I have moved on. I was one of the champions of BBI. I have moved on.
You have moved on.
Because I come from a county where without increase in shareable revenue, our county may shut down, Vihiga County, because we are having that issues with the budgetary issues, pending bill issues, and such counties who are going to benefit from increased revenue. We also have a constituency called Vihiga, which is going, and probably a Mohaya also, which is going. So BBI was going to help us to deal with those issues.
Could it be the reason why the Council of Governors are proposing that they move to Parliament to amend the parts of the Constitution? Because if you look at it, the 35% was going to benefit the counties in a very big way.
Yes.
Yes.
And you know, ironically, the people who fought the constitution, even that increase, you had Sholei last time she was here, she was saying even this increase to 35% is hollow, is nothing. The people who fought that are the same ones who are telling us about bottom-up approach. So how are they going to finance bottom-up approach if there is no money in the bottom?
Yeah.
There is no money in the bottom. How are you going to finance it? You can only finance it through things like Water Development Fund, things like increased revenue share at the counties, and increased investment in the grassroots. So they keep on telling us about bottom-up approach, but they are not telling us how the bottom is going to be financed. Where are you going to get the capital investment for bottom so that you achieve bottom-up approach? Because my understanding is that the bottom-up approach is that the counties or even the constituencies, even the wards will generate own revenue, which will be used to sustain the national government. But now, if there is no investment, capital investment in the bottom, then there is no bottom-up approach. So they're being dishonest in everything they do. They don't tell us about the content of bottom-up approach. At the same time, they are fighting policies which are supposed to support the bottom-up approach.
But is there hope now for this country moving forward?
Well, the hope that we have is that we have 11 months to the election. And now that we have 11 months to the election, I think Kenyans must vote wisely and vote for a leader who is going to bring the reforms that we want as a country. A leader who is going to help us solve the gender parity issue, a leader who is going to help us solve challenges of the constituency, and a leader who is going to put us on a reform path, genuine reform path. And I don't see that in Deputy President William Ruto. In fact, I have a feeling that he fought this constitution so that the powers of the president are not diluted. So that when he becomes the president, he has total powers. And he can become a dictator anytime he wants to. Because BBI was going to spread the powers to the prime minister, to the two deputies. But now, we are going to have an imperial president in 2022. So Kenyans, the only hope is that we have an opportunity on the 9th of August to elect a president who will genuinely lead this country and deliver us to the promised land. I do not see that in William Ruto. I do not see that in the other pretenders for presidency. You know, everyone now, all of a sudden is talking about economy. But these guys have been in government. Some of them have held finance minister's position. Why didn't they implement these ideas they're talking about? Why? They didn't bring the reforms they're talking about. And now everyone seems to be talking about how I will do this, how I will do this. And they have not been known to be reformers in the first place. Have not been known to be reformers.
Mheshimiwa, it's like the failure of BBI to sail through has now left heads rolling, literally, in the political circle.
Yes, everyone now is wondering what to do next. As I said, even coalition building is going to be a bit complex to develop coalitions without the 5 positions that were invested in the BBI. And now we have 2 positions. So if you have like 4 or 5 individuals coming together, it means only 2 will get the 2 positions, and then the rest, maybe you promise them ministerial positions, CS positions, which is not guaranteed because they are appointed positions. You can be sacked anytime. So it's really going to be a challenge, and that's why I say that for me, with the current confusion we have, and as far as coalition building is concerned, if we get to around February there, and there is no light at the end of the tunnel, let everyone go to the ballot, including the pretenders to the throne. Let them go to the ballot, let Kenyans decide. Some of these people are biting bigger than they can chew. When you find, for example, someone like my friend Weta, when he tells Raila Odinga that we are equals, and he has 11 members of parliament, and Raila has over 100 members of parliament, really? We cannot be equals.
That's a political language.
Yeah.
That's a political language. What do you expect from President Uhuru Kenyatta moving forward? Now that BBI is gone, his hands, somebody can say that his hands are now free. What should you expect? A more re-energized president, hands-on, with 11 months to go? What are we likely to see from him?
For me, let me be brutally honest. I saw the president talking yesterday and telling his deputy to resign. I think the president needs to do more than that. Because clearly, we have a deputy president who has run rogue. We have a deputy president who does not respect the president. We have a deputy president who is running a parallel government to the president. We have a deputy president who does not even adhere to government policy, even on COVID-19. He's holding rallies, he's meeting people in government installation, violating COVID-19 protocol. I think the president needs to do more than just telling his deputy to resign. Deputy president still has a half share of the government. Most of the ministers, CSS, he appointed, or he proposed for appointment, are still in government. Most of the principal secretaries that he recommended for appointment are still in government. Most of the parastatal chiefs he recommended for appointment are still in government. And yet, he is not ready to work with his boss. So the president, I think, is being unfair to Kenyans by taking too long to act. He needs to act. You remember in 2005, after the referendum loss, President Kibaki sacked everyone.
The entire cabinet.
Yes, including Raila Odinga. And he reconstituted the cabinet. That is what President Uhuru needs to do. I think it is quite unfortunate when he comes to us and tells us that the decision is the deputy president's decision. Kenyans never voted for Ruto. Kenyans voted for Uhuru Kenyatta. Because Uhuru, they never voted for deputy president. They voted for the president. So, and I think he needs to act. One way or another, he needs to act.
In one way or another, he needs to act. But then now, in his political muscle, are we likely to see that president going out there and facing the people and saying, this is me, my track record is this one, 2022 is going to be so different?
No, if he doesn't do that, then he's in for many surprises. Because you never know what is going to happen next. You never know what is going to happen next with what is happening with Ruto. He has his own economic model. He is no longer talking about government, but when it suits him, he says, us in government, we have done this and this. When it doesn't suit him, he now lumps it on Raila Odinga as the distractor, as the person who has come to distract the Jubilee government from its manifesto. So really we are dealing with a very dishonest individual.
The question here is on the front page of the Star, they said that lead Raila Mount Kenya campaign, even as that is happening. They started a tour. Honorable Raila alluded that they were going to start a tour with the president himself. And now that the BBI is out of the way, and 2022 elections is here, what are we likely to see in terms of the two gentlemen now moving forward as a team?
Well, I've not read the Star newspaper today.
He said that lead Raila Mount Kenya campaign allies tell Uhuru. A section of MP says that President Kenyatta's silence on his succession plan has triggered confusion and given undue advantage to their rivals.
Well, let me tell you one thing. The handshake was between two people, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta. I want to be brutally honest that Raila Odinga has done part of his bargain. He has consistently been focused on the handshake to the extent that some people think that he has lost his ideological leaning that he has always had. Honorable Raila has consistently pushed for what they agreed with Uhuru Kenyatta, one of it being BBI. And he has even taken Uhuru Kenyatta to Nyanza backyard so many times. So what remains is for Uhuru Kenyatta now to do the same. And the sooner he does that, the better. But again, I want to castigate the narrative that is building up that Mount Kenya is everything for Kenya. That you need Mount Kenya so that you do this and this. I don't think that is the right narrative to sell in this country. I have seen the members, leaders in that region trying to push that agenda, that without them, nothing will happen in this country. I don't think that is the right way to manage this country. We need to think as a collective nation. We need to think as a one Kenya. We should not think in terms of region and say this region is more critical than this. And for Raila Odinga, he has won elections 3 times. We know what happened in 2007. We know what happened in 2013. And we know what happened in 2017. And he has won an election without the Mount Kenya vote. That is the truth. So this mantra that it must be Mount Kenya pushing this agenda for one to get leadership, I don't think that is right. We should think as Kenyans, and I see the danger of it is that then the rest of the country will unite against what you are trying to oppose. All of a sudden, I hear colleagues say you cannot elect Raila Odinga in Mount Kenya because he's unwanted. And then I asked Wahome one time on a TV show like this, give me one fundamental thing that William Ruto has done in Mount Kenya that is making you guys troop to his side. She could not tell me anything. And I told her that for Raila Odinga, the economic freedom that is being enjoyed in this country, and particularly in Mount Kenya, he is the force behind it. He fought alongside Matiba, alongside Rubia, alongside Paul Muite, to bring the freedom that is being enjoyed in Mount Kenya. So you cannot compare such a person with someone who was busy looting this country in Kano, being part of the tormenting team against Mount Kenya. Now that is the person you are embracing and saying this is our savior. But the person who fought for reforms, the person who fought for freedom, you are now looking at him as a devil. I think that is not proper, that is not ethical, and I think leaders in Central and Mount Kenya region, they have something to answer in future to their offspring, that what decision did you make when you are in leadership? Because all of a sudden, Central Kenya that has been known to have a culture, enterprising culture, progressive culture, is now being taught to be hustlers, to be people who have no hope, to be people who are now looking at those who have, and they're seeming to be angry about them. So that is not the culture that the region has been used to, and that is crippling in because of the politics the current crop of leaders is trying to inject into the people. So for me, I think the narrative that Mount Kenya means everything is a misplaced narrative, and is something that should not be encouraged at all.
Mheshimiwa, allow us to end at that particular point. Thank you so much. We've been speaking to Honorable Godfrey Osotsi. Today it was one-on-one, all right? One man show. Thank you so much for taking your time. We are not yet done yet. We are taking a very short break, and when we come back, we still have got much more on the other side of the break. Stay with us.
Thank you. Thank you.